everybody, happy Monday and welcome to my channel. Breaking news, F-16s landed in Azerbaijan. They're Turkish-owned fighter jets. According to the Turkish information and according with Azerbaijani information, they entered Azerbaijan and confirmed that they entered Azerbaijan, but under the guise of training. Turkey and Azerbaijan completed their training in July. However, they're claiming it's the second portion of it. However, that information was not announced because usually there's an advance notice when any type of such activities are happening. Russia announced theirs in regards to Kafkas 2020 training, etc. So there's no announcement, and the timing of it clearly only does two things. Shows extreme support for Azerbaijan and show force against Armenia. Azerbaijan is stronger as far as forces, but don't discount Armenia yet at all. Azerbaijan was able to secure a lot of weapons and build up on their arsenal because at one point in time the price of crude were extremely high and Azerbaijan was able to add a lot to their budget and billions of dollars were spent buying weapons, including weapons from Russia. However, they had to buy it at the market price. Armenia was getting a discounted deal from Russia and buying weapons, but no way Armenia bought as many weapons as Azerbaijan did. They also have strong support from Turkey. So let's talk about history and other parts of it. As far as the Azerbaijan story is concerned, during the Soviet era, Gorbachev condemned Armenia. And Gorbachev had very strong words for Armenia and even had very specific operations in 1991. However, in 1991, Soviet Union collapsed, and there's a lot of people who think Gorbachev is a great leader, and a lot of people think Gorbachev was absolute failure, and I would be the latter. I do not support Gorbachev, but that's not a discussion for this topic at all. So going forward, 94 conflict. The world condemned certain things that were happening because in reality Armenia does occupy certain villages which are not heavily populated, and even UN admitted that that area belongs to Azerbaijan. And the whole conflict also involves Nagornij Karabach, which is a separate region. Armenia stated yesterday that they're willing to discuss their independence, but that goes much further than that. The whole conflict, there's certain safety areas around Nagornij Karabach. The 6 villages that were taken by Azerbaijan now and forwarded in they're not very heavily occupied. They're more empty, and it has to do with the territorial situation versus anything else. So the casualties right now, as far as Armenia's side, are 58 Armenian soldiers have been killed. Azerbaijan is not really releasing their numbers. Today alone on a Monday, there's 28 people that were killed thus far. This is according to official information from Armenia. Azerbaijan, as I said, been very quiet in regards to releasing any information, what their numbers truly are and what the situation is or not. So as far as conflicts are concerned, the reason this conflict is a little different, because it seems Azerbaijan is not going to stop just at the Nagorno Karabakh and the safety region. If possibly they take other areas, that would create a huge problem. If they take any areas that are heavily populated and move further northeast, it's going to become a humanitarian crisis. And at that point, even if Azerbaijan tried to pull out and do less once they get there, it will be out of control. The fighting will be extreme, and as I said, that could be a humanitarian crisis. Also, the 3 main nations, US, France, and Russia, they were supposed to discuss diplomatic situation with Nagorno-Karabakh, and they're part of the Minsk discussions. They kind of left it alone, and they've been sidetracked. Russia has been very busy with Syria, and this year especially Belarus, what's happening now in regards to Lukashenko's situation. US has been dealing with coronavirus. They have upcoming elections coming in November. Also, there's a lot of issues with civil protests that have been engulfing US, also wildfires in California. So basically, US has been sidetracked. France had a lot of issues to deal with. Macron has busy, of course, coronavirus, issues with the EU, trying to get forward and gain more control because France has an appetite to be the leader, even though Germany is at this point, but nevertheless. So all of this kind of put the spotlight out of the Nagorno Karabakh regions and further diplomatic relations. They were pretty much at minimum with discussions this year and through the summer. And also also don't forget, there was an escalation in July with Armenia and Azerbaijan, but it wasn't as strong as it is now. Also, people are saying it's a surprise. It's not a surprise because a week ago, a week ago, Azerbaijan was calling in all their reservists. So one would assume if somebody's calling in all their reservists, there's going to be automatically some type of military action involved. Azerbaijan is also accused of using Syrian mercenaries that are fighting on the behalf of Turkey enter the area and cause additional fighting and support for the Nagornij Karabach region, what is occurring now. Also, the interesting thing about Azerbaijan politics, every time a new president is elected, they're elected and their first thing is to show their muscle and strength, and they also always go for Nagorno Karabakh region and say, yes, we'll reclaim their territories, etc., etc. Aliyev, in his case, first he started with this rhetoric and then slowly he backtracked from it. Russia, for example, does not take an official stance supporting Armenia or Azerbaijan, but nevertheless, because Armenia has contracts with Russia, Russia would provide them weapons if needed, and Armenia just requested additional weapons. There's also surfaced a leaked audio tape on Telegram channel, which I'm not going to post here because there has been so much propaganda. There's also a lot of times when there's certain videos that are photoshopped for public, and they could have been from previous conflicts, and audio is not authenticated, so I can't really say that it is true. It is a sensationalist piece because it basically claims that recently Erdogan states that he was okay and happy with Armenian genocide, which is clearly everything is wrong with that statement and absolutely horrible. But at the same time, since the tape was not authenticated and since it was posted on Telegram canal, which provides a lot of news, but it's not a verified channel, so I don't want to post that link because it could cause additional issues, and also I don't want to be a part of any type of propaganda, so I'll skip that. But those comments are surfacing around. It is plausible that Turkey does not like Armenia, clearly, and Erdogan said he'll support Azerbaijan for a long time now. He said that he'll support, and anything Azerbaijan needs, he'll provide. Interestingly enough, Turkey also has been egging on Azerbaijan this summer because while, as I said, diplomatic relations and discussions were put on hold or were minimalized because the main countries had other problems to deal with, and Nagorno-Karabakh became not a pending, ongoing, dire situation at the time, Turkey decided to strengthen even further relationship with Azerbaijan. Turkish leaders have been traveling to Azerbaijan consistently this summer. They also made a lot of different deals with Azerbaijan. So while that was put to rest in a way, or put away for the time being, Erdogan was clearly egging it on and giving it a new life, and also empowering Azerbaijan. Also, to make it important, in 1994, Turkey is the only nation that closed borders with Armenia, and they were always taking a very strong stance and always supporting Azerbaijan. But if before it was more of a stance, now Erdogan is offering military help, and this is why F-16s are now in Azerbaijan. However, if F-16s would be involved in any operation right now, and Turkey is a member of NATO, that would violate a lot of agreements and would cause a lot of problems. Even Russia, as much as they said they'll help Armenians, they have contracts, they have not picked either side and remain neutral because Russia does not want to directly support Armenia, and it does not want to discount directly Azerbaijan. So Russia is right now at a status quo, and I'm not even sure President Putin at this present time will actually specifically pick a side, even given the conflict. So, and also, when you look at the UN 75 General Assembly, Erdogan spoke there, and there was already connotation and undertone when it came to the whole situation, that clearly he wanted more, and Azerbaijan topic came up as well. So none of it is a surprise. It's been slowly escalating. Azerbaijan has slowly been building military forces and everything like that. Also, additionally, which is somewhat of situation that people don't realize, Nagorno-Karabakh should be independent. It is true there are occupied territories around because it's considered to be a safety zone. They're not occupied, and technically speaking, they do belong to Azerbaijan. But nevertheless, none of the sides wants to have any type of meaningful discussions and come to a resolution which is actually amicable for both parties and both nations. Instead, they basically have grandstanding going on, and now Azerbaijan clearly moved further. This conflict is different than any others in 2016. Also remembers the 2018 operation, which was a little bit different because it was a Machachan region, but nevertheless, it was still an issue there. And if anybody wants to think, it's not just Nagornij Karabach at this point. There's other areas, because northeastern area, they're one of the vital roads for Armenia. Also, part of that leads eventually to the borders of Iran not too far. So there's other regions involved. This is why the question remains, does Azerbaijan only fighting again near those villages and want to reclaim those villages back that are actually UN says that it's theirs, and also at the same time stop? No, they want to go further. And going further, like I said, besides creating humanitarian conflict, Armenia will respond with everything it got. Right now, everybody under 55 who has military training in Armenia, which is majority of men, they're actually called in right now. So that means Armenia is preparing for full scale and expecting to have a full war possibly, not because Armenia wants it, but because Azerbaijan already started that. At the same time, if you look at everything else, U.S. always been a neutral party to a degree, even though U.S. gets involved in a lot of conflicts. Overall, U.S. does what's best for U.S. and it's a wider situation. For example, take Khashoggi's situation, because they had a lot of dealings with Saudi Arabia, there was no sanctions. But anyways, again, this is not a scope of this video. It's about Armenia and Azerbaijan. So expecting U.S. to do something is not going to be much except their political commentary and geopolitical, but I don't think anything will materialize with that. France right now, no. Armenia does have strong diasporas in France and Canada and US California, but like I said, given how US usually operates, Canada obviously not at all. Canada has a lot of issues going on internally right now. They're not going to be doing much. France, Macron, not really. Macron has been so engrossed in the whole Navalny situation that he has not even taken to. So clearly, none of this right now be any help to Armenia. So what is going to go forward? Two things can happen. It could be a full-scale war, and Erdogan will technically be responsible for starting this war. And at that point, and I don't even know why he's still in NATO, because given what Erdogan has been doing around the world, take the parts of Syria, Libya conflict, Greece, how he's actually muscling in. And if somebody has no knowledge of certain facts, Erdogan himself is Azeri background. So I would think it's a conflict of interest, if you can use such terminology in this case, for Erdogan to be even involved as any type of mediator in a situation with Azerbaijan and Armenia. And given his preferences and his views that he voiced and stated many times, he should not even be allowed to be a mediator in anything to do with that conflict whatsoever. And I don't understand why NATO still even keeps it. Yes, Turkey is a great strategic location, but you cannot trust Erdogan. He's not an ally for anyone. He's an ally for hire, but even then, it's the same way as Lukashenko. You can't trust him. Both of them, while Lukashenko is different because he's not starting conflicts in other nations, so that's completely different trajectory. But in this case, Erdogan eggs on, causes problems, wants to push Turkey further, create all types of conflicts. He basically wants to bring Ottoman Empire back. And this has been an ongoing issue. So him being a member of NATO kind of gives him a certain protection, but at the same time, he's basically causing wars around the world, and this is basically how it is. So what's going to happen in the future? If Azerbaijan goes further than the 7 villages in the safety zone and moves further into high populated areas, that would be a different situation. As I pointed out, it would be a humanitarian crisis, a full-blown war. Russia would supply weapons. I don't know if Russia continues to be in status quo in this, but it would create a lot of problems. And right now, having a full-blown war with coronavirus, economies being down from that, and all the other situations that are happening in the world, it would clearly be almost impossible to have that conflict resolved if Azerbaijan wants to have a full-scale war, and also what will happen as far as Erdogan is concerned in his actions and all of this. So please subscribe to my channel. Please click like. You can also find my articles under Kristina Kitova at communalnews.com. Would love to hear everybody's opinions. What do you think about this conflict? What do you think the geopolitical steps will be taken? What diplomatic steps will be taken? Or what do you think should occur? Thank you very much and have a great day.